Ibrahim Traoré warned this was coming, then Nigeria was hit. Hello everyone, and welcome back. What if a warning that many dismissed as rhetoric has just been quietly confirmed by events on the ground? What if a single night, right after Christmas, changed the balance of power in West Africa more than most people realize? On December 26th, reports emerged of U.S. air operations in northern Nigeria. At first glance, it looked like a familiar security story. Targeted action, limited scope, short headlines. But when you place this event next to the recent warnings voiced by Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, the picture changes dramatically. This was not just about Nigeria. It was not just about one operation. It may have been the opening move of a much larger regional shift, one that Traoré had been openly cautioning against as West Africa approaches 2026. Tonight, we're going to connect the dots carefully, calmly, and without exaggeration, because what's unfolding now could reshape the region for years to come. Stay with me. Dear friends, the events of December 26 did not happen in a vacuum. To understand their significance, we have to step back and look at the broader strategic landscape that has been forming across West Africa over the past 2 years. The reported U.S. strikes in northern Nigeria were not centered on the long-established groups operating in the country's northeast. Instead, they focused on areas like Sokoto and Kwara, regions that, until recently, were not considered primary hotspots. This detail matters because it signals a shift in priorities rather than a routine security response. According to multiple analyses, the targets were linked to elements displaced from the Sahel, groups that had been pushed out of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso by coordinated operations of the Alliance of Sahel States. In other words, pressure applied inside the Sahel did not eliminate the problem. It altered its geography. This is where Ibrahim Traoré's warnings come back into focus. At the AES summit, Traoré spoke of West Africa approaching a phase of compounded tension as 2026 draws closer. His point was not that conflict would suddenly appear, but that multiple dynamics, security, great power rivalry, and regional realignments were beginning to overlap. The December 26th operations fit precisely into that pattern. Another critical piece of the puzzle is maritime positioning. The presence of a U.S. naval platform in the Gulf of Guinea was not a routine logistical detail. It represented a new operational anchor capable of reaching several West African states rapidly, without relying on land bases in the Sahel. This matters because the United States lost a key strategic foothold in Niger in 2023 when it was forced to vacate facilities near Agadez. Since then, Washington has been searching for an alternative way to maintain regional reach. Nigeria, by geography alone, offers that access. When you combine these elements, a clearer picture emerges. The December 26th operation was not just about addressing an immediate security concern. It functioned as a demonstration, proof that a new platform could project force deep into West Africa from the coast inward. From this perspective, Nigeria becomes more than a partner. It becomes a hinge point between coastal access and Sahelian dynamics. For local communities in Sokoto and Kwara, this shift has been deeply unsettling. These areas were not accustomed to being discussed in the same breath as Sahel-based instability. Suddenly, they found themselves described as potential corridors, buffers, or zones of containment. That psychological shift alone has real consequences, affecting trade, mobility, and long-term confidence. At the regional level, the implications are even broader. The logic outlined by several observers is that Western powers are seeking to keep destabilizing elements confined to spaces where they believe monitoring is easier, while simultaneously limiting the strategic space in which Russia and China can expand influence. In this framework, military actions are not isolated decisions. They are moves on a geopolitical board. This is exactly the scenario Traoré warned about. He argued that increased external pressure around the Sahel would not lead to stability, but to displacement of actors, of risks, and of consequences. The December 26th strikes illustrate how quickly that displacement can occur. Two competing interpretations have emerged. The first claims the operation was purely defensive and beneficial, reducing risk by targeting mobile elements before they could establish themselves. The second argues that allowing repeated external interventions sets a precedent that weakens regional autonomy and deepens dependency. What makes this moment different is not the debate itself, but the structure behind it. The operational capacity demonstrated on December 26th suggests that similar actions could be repeated elsewhere if groups continue to move. If pressure in the Sahel pushes actors toward Benin, Cameroon, or deeper into Nigeria, the same logic could apply again. Each movement triggers a response. Each response reshapes the map. This creates a feedback loop, one that Traore described as a multi-front tension cycle. Nigeria's internal political calendar also plays a role. With national elections scheduled for 2027, visible security cooperation can be framed domestically as strength and effectiveness. That political incentive intersects neatly with external strategic goals, reinforcing the likelihood of continued collaboration. For businesses and civil society, the impact is immediate but indirect. Increased uncertainty raises costs, delays investment, and alters planning. Regions once considered peripheral suddenly carry a different risk profile. For the AES states, the situation confirms a long-held concern that as their internal coordination strengthens, external pressure will reconfigure rather than disappear. Influence does not retreat, it relocates. From a US perspective, this strategy lost reach. From a Nigerian perspective, it offers support and leverage. From a Sahelian perspective, it introduces new variables into an already fragile equation. And for ordinary people, especially those living along emerging corridors, the result is exposure to decisions made far beyond their control. This is why the December 26th event resonates so strongly with Traore's earlier statements. He was not predicting a single action. He was describing a pattern, one where great power competition, regional realignment, and security displacement converge. As West Africa moves into 2025 and beyond, the key question is not whether such operations will continue, but how often and under what political framework. Coordination could reduce escalation, silence could accelerate it, and misunderstanding the stakes could turn short-term actions into long-term instability. So when people ask whether Ibrahim Traoré's warning has been confirmed, the answer is not found in one headline or one night of events. It is found in the pattern. The December 26 operations in Nigeria did more than address a security issue. They revealed a new regional configuration, one where pressure shifts locations, alliances realign, and the margin for error narrows. This does not mean escalation is inevitable, but it does mean awareness is no longer optional. As West Africa approaches the next critical phase of its political and strategic evolution, the choice is made now. By governments, by partners, and by regional blocs will echo far beyond their borders. Understanding these signals early may be the difference between managing change and being overwhelmed by it. Thank you for watching.